More than 9,000 tonnes of fluoride solid waste is produced from an aluminium smelter each year. While companies like those operating Newcastle's Tomago smelter take steps to contain the release of this waste, there's still a long way to go.
We found that there was a real need to try and increase the amount of technical information we had about fluoride so that you could minimise their environmental impact.
Dr Binning and his student Paul Cow have devised ways of testing the effects of fluoride on clay. They've found fluoride can break down the soil, seeping into our waterways and then into the food chain. Dr Binning says the effects can be serious.
If we ingest too much of it, then it actually makes our bones brittle and it can harden some of the tissues in our body and lead to various health problems.
Once the study is completed, Dr Binning plans to submit the environmental guidelines to industries in the region. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. It was an entrance fit for the first pick of the season. The ripe cherries from Young were safely delivered by ambulance to the Newcastle market this morning. Dozens of eager buyers were keen to spend up. Bidders quickly pushed the price up. The final call went to local grocer Tom Brassif. A late donation from the Ellamore Vale Lions Club pushed the sum to $5,000, all going to the Mater Hospital's oncology unit in Newcastle. At $1,000 a kilo, many were keen to take a bite, including Tom's regular customers at the Whitebridge Fruit Market.
Absolutely delicious.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Yeah.
Very sweet and juicy. Beautiful.
$1,000 cherry.
Lovely. Beautiful.
The next load of cherries will be in the stores within a week, with prices expected to be back around the $8 a kilo mark. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. Too frightened to spend the night in their Brunker Street home, Elsie and Peggy, both in their 60s, returned this morning after staying with friends. Just after 10 o'clock last night, two intruders forced their way into the house.
He rushed over one of them and he put his hand over my mouth. He said, "Don't make a noise, so you won't get hurt."
Elsie and her sister Peggy were tied and gagged. The bandits ransacked the house looking for money before threatening to kill the women.
I thought I heard the click of the gun.
I thought, my God, if he shoots her, I can't do nothing because I was dried up. I couldn't do nothing to help her.
Peggy and Elsie were treated for shock and bruises at the Kurri Kurri Hospital. The bandits escaped with a small sum of money before making their getaway in a white Econovan. The vehicle was later found burned out on John Renshaw Drive, a short distance from Kurri Kurri. It's the second time in a fortnight the house has been targeted.
Whether they've just got incorrect information when they've gone there, but they obviously know that wasn't the case now.
Police are looking for two men in their 20s. One is described as thin-build, 175 centimetres tall with long black curly hair. The second is believed to be 170 centimetres tall and medium build. Vanessa Spark, NBN News. The ambulance rescue service arrived at Port Waratah Coal Services just after 8 this morning, where a 50-year-old worker was trapped in a lift car.
No, we found that the only way to get him out was to bring him out through the top of the lift car.
Bob Haas abseiled down the 60-metre shaft to the nearest exit, prying open the doors.
Then we abseiled down to the car itself and accessed the patient through the top hatch of the lift.
The man was hauled from the lift to safety and didn't appear too upset by the ordeal.
He was glad to see me, but he was in good spirits, yeah.
From understated to way over the top, a hat can be a unique fashion statement, and no more so than on Melbourne Cup Day. It's something Newcastle hat maker Kathy Stewart knows all too well, and she's been busy over the past few weeks working on a variety of creations.
The highlight of the milliner's year is of course Melbourne Cup Day, so it's really exciting time.
While supplying hats for many local socialites, Kathy has also provided headwear for several Sydney clients who will be showing off their hats trackside tomorrow.
Everyone wants something a bit different. What people classify for themselves as different is, not always terribly outrageous, but people are certainly looking for something that's unique to them.
The hard part is deciding just which one to wear. Emma Ossian, NBN News. Come summer, this stretch of beach will be a sea of people, with many families and tourists. Despite this, local residents say beachgoers are forced to make do with insufficient facilities. The closest change rooms more than half a kilometre away at either Merriweather Baths or Dixon Park.
There's nowhere between Merriweather Baths and Dixon Park for people using this beach to shower, change and then get in their cars and go home.
There are some showers at the surf club, but they are only for surf club members, and the only other amenity is a small toilet block. Surf club member Laurie Graham says it's time Newcastle Council did something to improve the situation.
We've been to the council over a period of many years and they come up with the same answer, no funds available.
Council's Recreation Manager Rod Morn says the council is considering a variety of options for the area, but nothing definite has yet been decided. The residents' other concern is the kiosk at Bar Beach. It's been closed since Easter and the council is yet to choose a new operator to run the site. The council says the kiosk should be open for the summer, with a successful tender to be known later this month. Emma Ossian, NBN News.
The care flight helicopter was rushed to the area known as the Pinnacles, 4 kilometres off Kingscliff. Attempts to lower a rescue crew hampered by large swells.
I want you to maintain a straight and steady course out to sea at 10 knots forward speed. Don't chase me around the ocean.
Leslie Curran had been diving with a charter group. He ran into difficulty while at 32 metres, his first dive of the day, and only his 9th ever, having just completed his advanced course.
He simply broke the surface, appeared to be fine initially, and then lost consciousness very soon after.
It's thought the man may have run out of air. The charter operator, Kira Dive, say the man had been using his own newly purchased gear. The man's girlfriend and diving partner was treated for shock. A post-mortem will be carried out in Sydney. The man's gear will also be thoroughly inspected. The tragedy will be the subject of a coronial inquiry to establish exactly how the man died.
The grey skies and constant drizzle failed to drive this group of enthusiastic bowlers indoors today, as they were determined to soak up every instruction and pointer from the bowling experts. Players from Brisbane to Wollongong were taking part in the 3-day camp at Foster Bowling Club, the second to be held in Australia.
It's an opportunity for club bowlers also to learn from some of the better players in the country, and it's proved very popular. We have evening lectures, on-green fun and excitement, as well as passing on some technical instruction at the highest levels.
Called Celebrity Bowls Camps, the impressive lineup of coaches included current indoor world champ Ian Schuback, women's world champ Daphne Shaw and 2 former world title holders Cameron Curtis and Peter Rubens. The aim of the camp is to make social bowlers more competitive, which in turn attracts younger people to the game.
Bowls is changing as a sport now. Years ago it used to be just a social pastime for the elderly, and now it's become a very competitive sport, bowls. There's a lot of tournaments around the country, and there's a lot of club players that would like to enter tournaments and even just club championships and perform at their best.
And just to add a little incentive to the technical drills, the coaches found a $100 bill can do wonders for accuracy. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
The weather was not as generous in New South Wales, but the rain did little to dampen celebrations in the Hunter. The fashions in the field were forced inside at the Newcastle Harness Racing Club, where a lucky few also got to touch the cup itself from Lord Fury's victory back in 1961. Trying to find the 1996 winner, a 100-strong crowd gathered at the Botanic Gardens for a garden party. The champagne was flowing just as it was across the entire country, while the Silks made their first appearance of the day. The sunny side of the street was indoors in Newcastle City, and a fashion parade did its best to lighten up the day. The fashions at the tables were just as impressive as those on the catwalk, and while the shades of summer had most enthused, others stuck to the black and white of the form guide. Approaching race time, the Mexican wave, girls style. Just about every club and pub across the region was packed as the countdown drew near. At the Newcastle Workers Club, it was find a spot early, and then with the push of the starters button, 1,000 kilometres away, the once tamed crowd roared with support.
To the jagged sound of an electric guitar, disciple Judas sings an ominous song of warning to Jesus about where his cause is heading. The dress rehearsal of the rock musical Jesus Christ Superstar was in full swing last night as cast and crew made some final preparations before the curtain goes up tomorrow night. The musical follows the story of Jesus, a man loved by the masses who heals the sick and helps the poor. But it's also a story of human greed and ultimately one of betrayal. After 5 months of hard work, the Tari Arts Council presents its version of the popular production to local audiences.
And they'll rock along with the chorus numbers, they'll cry with the sad songs. But yeah, they'll be moved and they'll be entertained.
There are 46 people in the cast and another 18 in the orchestra. Jeremy Miller stars as Jesus, Dean Snook as Judas and Trisha Williams as Mary Magdalene. With a talented cast, colourful costumes and an awesome set, the Tari production promises to be a runaway success. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
This is the artist's impression of the new headquarters for the Korean Economic Daily newspaper in Seoul. Its most striking feature, a 14-storey high glass facade. It will take almost 170 stainless steel trusses similar to this to support the massive wall. Only 3 companies in the world have the technology, 2 in Europe and 1 in Newcastle.
Flew into Seoul and I had a contract within 48 hours.
The contract is worth $1 million. All components are being made locally. To do the job, the company has invested $100,000 in a robotic welder. Its technology and expertise, the Korean builders are keen to exploit.
So this is a good opportunity, for us to work, quality the contractor. At the same time, good opportunity to develop the Korean subcontracting things for this field also.
The Newcastle company is hoping the work will open more doors in Asia and particularly Japan. The only possible obstacle that could hold it back is a lack of skilled people to do the work.
And we need special people to do special things and they're not available. We may even have to steal people from these companies I mentioned to you.
JML isn't resting on its laurels though. Representatives travel to Israel next week in search of new contracts. Phil Hind, NBN News. 100 junior doctors and interns gathered at the John Hunter Hospital for 2 hours this afternoon to add their voice to the campaign. Government plans to cut the number of GPs has left many in the Hunter disillusioned and angry.
For interns and medical graduates, it's a complete loss of any career opportunity that they thought they had when they undertook their training.
Although the Australian Medical Association concedes Australia does have too many GPs, it believes the government should allow the current crop to go through the system.
You can't allow someone to study for 6 years, to be working in the hospital system for 2 or 3 years, and then cut the rug from underneath them.
This afternoon, junior doctors voted to endorse a union campaign of rolling stoppages and strikes at public hospitals throughout the region.
We will, however, be trying to take action which minimise disadvantage to the patients in the system. Our aim is not to try and cause disruption or disadvantage to anyone who comes to a public hospital.
The Hunter will get its first taste of the campaign tomorrow as surgeons at the Royal Newcastle Hospital institute bans on some elective procedures in support of their junior colleagues. What industrial bans the junior doctors implement will be decided in coming days. Like most proud new homeowners, the residents of 1 Helm Street put on the food and proudly conducted guided tours. All 5 residents have been living in the specially designed house since June. At least one is already keen to do a spot of bathroom remodelling.
We want the tiles, because the tiles have been slipping for me. They're going to change the tiles, and they're going to take old tiles down and they're going to put the new ones down.
For the residents, it's the first time they've lived independently in a place of their own. They're supported in the house by the Samaritans, a branch of the Anglican Church. It's a quantum shift from the old days of institutionalised care and living permanently with ageing parents.
They're now adults, they want to become a little more independent. They live here, they learn more independent living skills, they're cooking meals, they're looking after a home, they're going out and getting work experience, they're going out and doing TAFE training, they're going out and meeting people in the local community.
The Samaritans now support 50 disabled people throughout the Hunter and are due to open a similar house in Raymond Terrace next month. Phil Hind, NBN News.
A review of the home building industry has resulted in the state government initiating an overhaul of the present licensing system. It's hoped the changes will result in a better system of regulation, improving things for both builders and consumers.
What we think will happen will be a simpler system, a better system, and a system that means that consumers can have more confidence in the builders that they're dealing with.
This afternoon, home builders and subcontractors met to discuss the proposed changes, looking at the 6 options which have been put forward. What they don't want to see is things made easier for builders to obtain a licence.
One of the options that the government is considering is reducing the amount of licensing necessary. We don't think that's going to serve the industry or the consumers very well on that particular point, and we don't think that the ease of getting into the industry is going to make it a better industry.
Emma Siossian, NBN News.
A trip into the Pacolban area is a pleasant enough experience if you can find your destination. A move by Cessnock Council to remove large roadside advertising boards for wineries and restaurants has some visitors in a spin. Most of the advertising signs have been replaced by fingerboards and maps which are not so visible. General Manager of Cypress Lakes Resort Michael Bourne says one client holding a conference took extreme measures.
He wanted to place his own signage on the road between Cessnock and Cypress Lakes. We got around it through drawing a detailed map to get him here, but his perceptions of the signage were not good.
Cessnock Council says with more than 100 wine-related businesses in the area, it wants to keep a Colburn aesthetically pleasing. But council admits if the signage is not good enough, it will look at other options.
From our point of view, tourism is very important, and the tourists need to find where they're going to. So if the system isn't working, we have to go back and look at it and find a way that it does.
And with thousands visiting the vineyards each week, council says tourists must be able to find their way.
I hope so. I hope from everybody's point of view we come up with something that works, because if we don't, then we've all failed.
Bill O'Neill celebrated his 80th birthday on Monday, but his spirits have now been soured. The war veteran was asleep inside his Newcastle home of 50 years early this morning when awoken by noises in the lounge room. Still half asleep, Bill found two masked men rifling through his cupboards. In a brave move, Bill took on the thieves but was soon overpowered.
Next thing he got me, so I'm actually with him, and the next thing another bloke grabs me around the bit and puts his hand over in my mouth and my nose.
Bill was held for 10 minutes, nearly suffocating.
He didn't have any gloves, so I got his finger and I pulled it and I breathed a little bit up out there. The next thing he was turning around and he said to his mate, hurry up, you know, he said, now, you know, then you may come and they shot through.
The thieves escaped through the backyard with a wallet and money box. Bill's relatives say it's a disgusting act.
It's a pretty well damn low act, I reckon, and they should suffer for it if they ever get caught.
Police say the thieves had cased the house previously and used a ladder to enter the bedroom window. They're appealing for information and looking for two men around 180 centimetres tall with solid builds, around 25 years old with thick Australian accents. It's been an extra hard year for Bill, whose wife of 39 years died in March. Bill says he'll battle on and has this message for any more would-be intruders.
I'll tell you what, if they ever come again, they'll get a bloody better reception next time. I'll tell you, I'll be better prepared next time. I'll have something for them.
Blake Doyle, NBN News.
The decision ends years of fighting by Andrew Hope and William Brown to get equal treatment for homosexual couples seeking health cover. The Newcastle partners applied for a family rate in 1993 to cover themselves and Mr Hope's young son. They would have saved more than $900 each year in comparison to the individual rates, but NIB Health Funds rejected the application. NIB was subsequently found guilty of discrimination by the New South Wales Equal Opportunity Board, which led to today's failed appeal. The Health Fund has been ordered to allow the couple a concessional rate and pay $1,500 in compensation. The ruling is expected to open the door for other homosexual couples seeking family health cover.
I hope you can put it to good work.
Thanks very much, I'm sure we will. It's very much needed funds, and your blokes, hopefully they never notice, but we'll be there when they do.
Clap now.
Less than 2 weeks ago, it looked like the end of the line for Rundle's and its 300 staff. The 88-year-old family company was placed in receivership after it couldn't pay a $2 million instalment on its loan. But today, renewed hope of a Rundle's resurrection.
Much more confident. I hope I have some good news to announce in the next, couple of weeks.
That optimism would have been unthinkable only a fortnight ago, with the preferred option a quick sale of the Katara factory and the Newcastle store. But the Save Rundle sale sold twice as many suits as expected to give momentum to crisis talks with the Westpac Bank.
We're negotiating with the bank, and I'm hopeful these negotiations are going ahead, and I'm hopeful that will result in the receiver eventually getting out and Rundle's continuing on.
If it does continue in family hands, it'll be largely due to the community that it's been part of for nearly a century. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. Newcastle has one of the busiest ports in Australia, making it one of the most prone to imported marine pests. The alien organisms hitch a ride in the water used as ballast for empty ships coming to Australia. When the water is emptied, the pests are released into local waterways, placing marine industries at incredible risk.
We've had some bad examples in Australia, including toxic dinoflagellates coming in and affecting our shellfish industries. We've had starfish introduced in Tasmania, which has taken over great areas of the environment, also a seaweed that's done the same thing.
To help reduce that risk, a national council has been established with representatives from shipping, science and fishing. It'll spend the next 2 years researching ways to prevent the potentially disastrous visitors from disembarking in Australia.
Well, some of the ships come from higher risk ports to our ports, and we want to be extra careful with those ships.
A push has also started for uniform national maritime laws, so all ports have the same precautions for pests. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
All eyes were on John Reardon in Newcastle this afternoon as the New South Wales Rugby League Vice President sold the city's businessman the Australian Rugby League Lion. Hunter Mariners General Manager Bob Ferris looked on as Reardon all but ruled out a chance of a compromise.
I think there is more chance of Princess Diana phoning me for a date.
The humour may still be there, but the ARL Super League war is far from a joking matter. Only yesterday, the ARL clubs held their first official training sessions for the new season, most coming to grips with several new faces in the team. It's a scene that Reardon believes will become the norm now there's opposing competitions.
I think that there will be attempts made by both sides to pirate the players from each other's organisations. That's a sorry state of affairs.
The player market is one of a number of issues still to be ironed out.
They want the whole of our teams reduced to 12 for their benefit, and they'll never get it.
Super League has the right of replay at the same meeting next week. Meantime, it will hold simultaneous media conferences across the country tomorrow for the official announcement of their 1997 draw. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.